Hey, so happy to have you here today, Olive, for your blueprint session. I'm Jake Burns, and want to go over everything with your website and hopefully, give you some tips that you can improve on it and obviously get some more business, okay?
Hi, thank you.
So tell me a bit about Envision Your Life. What are
So
you guys doing and what's the business?
I am a life coach, and so I offer one-on-one coaching. It's a Christian transformational coaching. And I also do vision board workshops and retreats when we used to be able to meet in person. But now
Oh, I know, right?
I've seen people do virtual retreats, but it's not exactly what I would like to do. Um,
Yeah.
but in addition to that, just recently, I started a community for Christian women.
Okay.
Um, so that is also part of this also. This,
Nice.
yeah. So
Well, I guess go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say that's why I need the help because there's so many things going on, and it looks I don't know where to send people. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, I think that actually starts a really good question. How has COVID affected you in the last year? I mean, it's been about a year. We're doing this recording. It's April 15th.
Mhm.
How has COVID affected you in the business?
Well, we had an amazing retreat down on the Cape. I guess that's where y'all are. Um, and in October of 2019.
Okay.
And we hope to do it again in 2020, of course. And we just gave up on that. I knew it, people kept saying, yeah,
Yeah.
by fall it will be okay, but I knew. So I anything. so
Yeah.
so yeah, that was the biggest upset. But then it made me think of online. I've done my coaching through Zoom before that, so I was familiar with it. And so the idea of the community came to me. We couldn't meet in person, but people needed somewhere to go, and to
Yeah.
find community. So we started
Sure.
the end of in January this year. We launched it. Yeah,
Oh, okay. How's that going so far?
pretty good. Surprising. Um,
Oh, good. I think people are looking for connections, right? They're
yeah,
looking for connections in life again.
yeah, yeah. People are joining, but of course, with things like that online, they're not engaging as much. There are very few
Right.
that are regularly engaging. Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely. All right. So tell me a bit about your website and, some of the questions that you have and maybe issues that you've seen. I see that you're using Wix, which is a very popular web builder.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me about it. Like what things and when did you build it? What year did you build it?
Uh, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like
Hmm.
2018.
Okay. So it's been a few years.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And before that, yeah, well, we won't go into that. But the problem is, as you can see, there's so much going on. I don't know where to focus. And I'm not an expert web builder. Wix is good, but
Sure.
um, is this the correct thing to do? Keep questioning
Right.
yourself in, overthinking it.
Right. Okay. So that's a really good point. So what would you say then? I know you did retreats and you do coaching. How would you say you make, 80% of the money of the income for the business?
When I was doing the vision board workshops, I think that's the one that used to bring me the most. Um,
Okay.
I think this women's circle have the more potential now. Um,
Okay.
it's just starting up, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the homepage then. Now I see the women's circle here, right? That's the same thing you're talking about,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as I scroll down, I don't really see anything else on it. So, I think probably the first thing is if that's really where you want to focus the business and focus your time, and you think there's some potential there for both doing good as well as, obviously revenue, I would probably change a couple of things. What I would do is maybe, if you want to keep this top section, which I think is fine, I would add a section above this and focus specifically on your new women's circle.
Okay.
And have kind of a big banner here that says, join us for the Spa Women's Circle, and just maybe a kind of a short intro as to what it is. Because, when you're focusing on something as a business, that's where you want to push everybody to go and, to learn more about, because that's what you want them to focus on. That's what your business is about. So I think that's probably a nice, easy kind of start to kick things off for sure. Does that make sense how to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So I think in Wix, it's pretty simple to do. I'm pretty sure it's drag and drop, and you drag in whether it be a slider or just an image. And then you can make essentially this same thing, just move it down and then focus on that Spa Women's Circle as the main core of the business.
Right.
And then down here, you have the women's circle here, and you have life coaching. The one thing I would like to see on the homepage then is links. So I can't click on, I guess I just clicked on that image, but it wasn't readily apparent to me that I could do that. Okay. So what I would do is I would actually add on each of these, maybe, push this down a little bit and add a button here and say, learn more on each of them. Because, it wasn't readily apparent to me that I could click on it and learn more about, each of those different areas.
Okay.
Essentially in web design, what we're trying to do is we're trying to lead people along a path of information to have these kind of micro commitments. Every time they see something and they click on something, it's a little bit of a commitment, right? I mean, they're committing their time to you to learn more. So you want them to commit a little bit more time, because the more time they invest, the more invested in your business they'll be, and the more likely they'll be to then, join your list or to, contact you. Make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay. I love this. I love the fact that you're telling kind of, who you are and what you are and what the organization is about. I think that's very, very good. And, the footer, you could always add a couple more things in here. You have the link to your email address, which is great. Do you have a form on your website? Like if I go to the contact page, is there an actual form?
Yes.
You have a subscribe. You don't have a form on the site. So one thing I would suggest too is on this page, on the contact page, not just having only the subscribe, which is nice, but you're not sending them anything right away, specifically about joining the group or whatever. So what I would suggest is having a form on here, and Wix makes that pretty easy. You can drag and drop a form onto the page and just make a simple connect form. You can also probably do that in the footer as well, where you can add a form down here and says, contact us, and it can just be like name and email address and maybe question. That's good. You got these three things going. Your social links are all going out to the correct places. A lot of times what I see is, people have these links there just because they think it's cool, but it just goes to facebook.com. It doesn't actually go to their page. So I'm glad you have that hooked up and working right. That's good.
I have to change that. Google Plus doesn't exist anymore. I just noticed
No
that.
problem at all. No problem. Hey, we're all working on our website, let me tell you.
Yeah.
All right, so next thing. Now, from the top, I see this. The site was designed with Wix Builder. You have a custom domain up here, yes, which I'm almost positive, and we don't use Wix a ton, I'm just being honest, but pretty positive that you can get rid of this banner, because this isn't selling you, right?
Yeah.
This is selling Wix. So this is something that I would suggest getting rid of, and that should be a simple thing that just says, hey, you signed up for your custom domain, you're paying us money, you can get rid of that top banner, because they usually use this banner on Wix when you're using their domain. So, you know, if you didn't have that custom domain.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Next thing is, you know, it's very common these days that when you click on the logo of the website, it takes you back to the home page. Right now, you don't have that. So I would also suggest making that a link that goes back to your home page.
Okay.
Just makes it a little easier for people to navigate. All right. So I think the next best question is, how are people currently finding you? Are they finding you on the web? Are they finding you friends of friends in the real world? How are they typically finding you?
Mostly on Instagram, a little bit on Facebook, and I think that's where more people, but mostly word of mouth. Like
Okay.
for the circle, people are
Mm-hmm.
recommending to their friends, and
Sure.
so the last few people who have come in, that's how they came in.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. We hear that a lot. You know, a lot of business is done, you know, from referrals and things like that. So that's very good. So do you have, I know I saw down here your Google Plus. Is that your Google listing? Oh, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah,
So
that,
yeah, you got to fix that,
doesn't
right?
exist anymore.
No worries, no worries. Again, we're all working on these things, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not sure you can see this, but let me just check and see. Do you have a Google My Business listing?
No.
Okay. So one thing that you can do is you can go to Google and just type in Google My Business, and you can set up a Google My Business listing. It's completely free. You can go there, and this is actually something that Bryan Caplan, who my business partner is, he talks about this a lot and does presentations for Google. You can go there and then create a free listing, and it puts all your business information online, and it shows up on the right-hand side of the screen for people when they're searching Google and they're looking for you specifically. And, you know, we find, you know, a lot of times, like you said, you're getting real-world referrals. And so when people look you up, they want to see more information, right? So that provides a little bit of credibility, a little bit of comfort, the fact that you would show up for that Google My Business, because that means Google has you in their system, not just in the regular search rank, but also, you know, as a business listed with them and where you're located. Okay.
Okay.
And it's also a great way to have, you know, another link back to your website.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So for Google, now that we're talking about Google a little bit, one of the things they look at are what are called page titles. And do you see how it popped up there? It says workshops, retreats, coaching for Christian women.
Yes.
That is called your page title. So if I were to go to Google and I were to do a search, you know, like the big text that shows up in Google, that's what would appear for you. It would say workshops, retreats, coaching for Christian women.
Okay.
So that's good. That's pretty good. Now for you, typically on the homepage, what we like to do is we also like to have the name of the business. So for you, I would say this, you know, potentially is not bad. But because you're probably more local, I assume you're probably most of your business is in Massachusetts. Is that correct?
Most of it, yes.
Mm-hmm. So two things I would add to your page title would be the location. So it would say not just workshops, retreats, coaching for Christian women. It would say workshops, retreats, coaching for Christian women near Dorchester, Massachusetts, or near Boston, Massachusetts, or near, you know, some area, or South Shore, Boston, or something like that. And in addition, on your homepage, I would also have the name of your business. So I would have like a dash or some kind of designation, a separation, and put Envision Your Life. So that when people are searching for your business, you have just your business name. Like, let's say, that a friend or a friend said, hey, go check out Envision Your Life. They go search it, and then they don't find you. It's like, or they find somebody else with the same, domain, but they have the .com because you have .biz, which is less common. And they see that and they just think that's right. They're kind of led down the wrong path. Mm-hmm. So we want to rank as well as we can for your business name as well. And so by changing the page title to be very specific around what your business is, where it's located, and what it does, you're going to rank better in Google. That's a tried and true thing. Still works as long as the content on your website relates to whatever the page title is. And so in web design, what we try to do, and this is a little bit technical, is for each page of your site, you can align what the page is about and what you think people are searching for to that page. So as an example, if I go to the Spa Women's Circle, you have Spa Women's Circle. Now, odds are people aren't searching for Spa Women's Circle. It's probably not a very common thing people are searching for. Right. But they might be searching for Christian women's groups near me. I bet you that's probably searched a lot.
Yeah.
So if your page title was Christian women's groups near Dorchester, Massachusetts, now you got a chance to show up in Google for when people are searching for that.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's also something called the meta description, which when you're in Wix, and we won't get into the technical aspects today, and I can certainly, send and add in the notes here for the YouTube video, a link for Wix specifically of how to do this. Wix makes it very easy when you're in the editor to update these things. So it's pretty simple. And then right below the page title is what's called the meta description. And the meta description, and it's the description of the page. So it's in Google, it's the text that shows up right below that title.
Oh, yeah.
And that text is kind of the descriptor, right? It's saying, hey, I lured you in. I got you here with that page title to say this is what we're about. Now dig a little deeper about, what this is. It's a spiritual, practical, affirming space for Christian women. That's a great page title right there. Maybe a little bit longer, but that's a great, it's a great meta description. Okay. This is spiritual, practical for Christian women, and add a period at the end.
So you're saying,
does that make sense? Some technical things there, I know.
Page, sorry. On this
it's okay, go ahead.
You put in the title, Spa Women's Circle, and then also add the location to this page also, not just the home page.
Yeah, I would add your location to every page. It's because it's because every single page on your site relates to your area, right?
Yes.
So what you're saying, and this goes for any business, especially today, what are people are searching for? Maybe less so for this, but they're searching for the best XYZ near me, right? Yeah. They're searching for the best restaurant, the best doctor, the best hotel, the best whatever, the best group, the Christian group near me. So you can use, maybe best doesn't work necessarily for you, but for most businesses, using that kind of moniker works well. The best, the top rated, anything like that, anything that relates to what you're doing, and think about, and rather, like people can, this is a pretty big rabbit hole, but people can get into this and start looking at keywords and all these other fancy things. And that's great. If you have the time to do that and the knowledge to do that, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Or to pay somebody to do it. But what I suggest is sit down, take 5 minutes and say, okay, this page is about Women's Circle. If I were the consumer, what would I search for in Google to find this kind of service or this kind of business? What would I search for? I would search for Christian women's groups near me. That's what I would search. That's probably what I would search for.
Right.
So that's what you want to be having as your page title.
Right.
And then the meta description is the add-on to that. It's the descriptor. It's the spiritual, practical, affirming space for Christian women. And, you know, and you can again put the location in there near Dorchester, Massachusetts, or whatever.
Awesome.
And that's a big one. If you do those couple of things,
Yeah.
You can't guarantee going to number one, because obviously Google is changing their algorithm all the time and all kinds of things there. But this is going to give you the best opportunity to start ranking well.
Oh, great.
Okay. And you do that for every single page. Every single page. You go through one by one and say life coaching. Okay. If I was in Google, you know, what would I be searching for in Google to find a Christian life coach near me? I'd be searching for, you know, the best Christian life coaches near me, or something to that effect.
Yes.
You know, life coaching is fine, but, you know, the odds of you showing up for life coaching are pretty much slim to none, because, you know, number one, you don't have a Google My Business yet. And number two, you know, the Tony Robbins of the world spend, you know, millions of dollars a year, you know, pulling all of these people in.
Right.
But you might have an opportunity to show up for Christian life coaching near Dorchester, Massachusetts. Absolutely. You might be able to get top 5 for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a biggie right there. I love everything else you're doing, kind of this, you know, the approach that you have. You know, style could be updated, but, you know, I tell people, don't get too hung up on that. You know, like, you can spend hours and days and months and years, you know, trying to perfect everything. But the truth of the matter is, as long as you have the basics and they work well, you know, if I click on this book a free session, I want it to work. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to get frustrated, right? So just make sure these things work, and don't lead people down a rabbit hole. Like, I might actually, you know, hey, you have this, it took me 2 clicks to get to where I wanted the book, right? So you have, yeah, right. So it's like, it's like, come on, man, I just want a book.
Doesn't need a book.
And I got to read more. Just book me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anytime you can kind of shorten the path to people getting to what they want, which is the book now, you know, the better off you are.
Yeah.
But I love, you know, the things that you're doing here. You're doing a very nice job. What questions do you have for me, you know, that maybe you've had issues with on the website, or things you've been trying to do?
Well, you just pointed out one, like, you know, the different apps that Wix have, they don't work. So I need better stuff, like the booking.
Sure.
Yeah, that one was a big
Okay.
one. And
Yeah.
events, they also
Okay.
have, that's really, it's not user friendly.
Right. Yeah. You know, and then that happens with some of these web builders for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of times what people do is they go and they find a third party, you know, system for each of those kind of things. You can, if you're doing, say, Zoom events, maybe you're, you know, go to webinar events, you can do the registration through each of those. And then you're just linking out to Zoom or to, you know, go to webinar, or, you know, one of these other businesses. For the booking, there's lots of companies that do that kind of stuff too. BCTA is one that I can think of off the top of my head. Another one would be MindBody, which I think costs a little more. But MindBody is used for a lot of these kind of businesses, for coaching and for spas and for massage places, you know, like businesses and things like that. So those kinds of businesses love MindBody, and fitness, I think, is another one. So, you know, you can use a third party system like that. A lot of times they will cost money, but, you know, they work better and they're made specifically for that. Whereas Wix is kind of trying to be everything to everybody. You know, so it's not specifically or based around that.
What was the first one you said? Did you say BC or something?
It's called VCTA, VCITA.
Okay.
And then, you know, I think the other thing is that, you know, if you're doing, just talking out loud here, and I'll ask you one more question that I have, but I would pull into this, because I haven't seen it. You know, if you're doing a lot on Instagram, you're doing a lot on social media, you should be able to automatically pull in your Instagram feed into your homepage or into another page on your website. if you want to show people you're active and that you're taking photos and doing cool things, and have that on your website, because, you know, even if people aren't finding you in Google, like you said, they are finding you because a friend of a friend is saying, hey, join this group, or, you know, join us. The first thing they're going to do is go to your website and check it out and make sure you're reputable and see kind of what's happening. They want to be part of the party, right? So
Yes.
they want to make sure that it's going to be fun and it's going to be what they want to get out of it. So show them everything you have going on in this place, and from social media and otherwise.
Awesome.
Hey, one question I have for you. So it says login here. What happens when I click that? Do you have like a login for members?
That is. I think
so, all right. So that's,
you can log in.
yeah, no problem. No problem. So, you know, one thing that I suggest, if you don't know what it is, get rid of it. Anytime you're not sure what it is, just get rid of it, because it's not helping you. It's not helping you.
I think I was.
Well, any other questions I can answer? We went over a whole bunch. Obviously, tons more that we could do. But, you know, any other questions you have, or things you want to go over about the website, or, you know, about marketing or email or anything else?
I can't think of anything else right now. You covered a bunch of what I had in mind. So, yeah, more than I thought I could get from you.
Hopefully I didn't overload you. I'm sorry. I just kind of go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm making notes. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really, really appreciate having you on. Any other questions, certainly follow up with us. We'd be happy to help, okay?
Okay. Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Good luck in your business, too.
I do have one question.
Sure, go for it.
How do you help people? How do you help businesses? I know Bryan mentioned that your company help small businesses, but what do you actually do? How do you help them?
Well, thanks for that segue. It's perfect for this. No, so we do a couple of things. You know, we quote jobs. So if you were looking to get a website redesign done, or you know, anything like that. But the bigger thing that we do for a lot of people is, you know, we sell hour packs. And, you know, let's say you buy 10 hours, you buy 5 hours, you even buy something as small as 3 hours. You know, we sell just an hour pack and say, hey, look, you know, we think we can get this done on your website, or we can build an email or 2 emails or whatever we can do. You buy an hour pack, and then those hours don't expire. You know, we build and do what we do up to that time. And then, you know, we say, hey, your time's almost up. You have about an hour left. What would you like us to get done? But we work with you and make sure we get as much done in those, you know, those 5 or 10 or 3 hours as we can.
So if, say if I have the series of emails I needed done, you know, like a flow, you know,
yep,
that's something you could help with.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do tons and tons of email marketing for businesses every month, but we also do one-offs and, like you said, automation campaigns. So, like, a lot of times what we do is a welcome series. You know, when people have an email, you know, that goes out right after somebody joins the list, you know, that's when, you know, you want an email series to happen, where it goes email 1, email 2, email 3 over a couple of days or weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much again for your time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with your business, and certainly follow up with us. We want to hear how you're doing.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.